So, hello, dear friends. We are starting a new channel named Startup Talks. On this channel, we would have open discussions with the people associated with the startup ecosystem, such as mentors, angel investors, persona from industries, academia, government. We'll get to know the complete knowledge, right, starting from the idea conception, the problem idea is going to solve, market research, the competitors, financing, execution, networking, diversity inclusion, sustained economic growth, and government schemes in support. So today, we have an eminent guest, Mr. Sanjay Nagi, who's been a startup mentor, visionary, global consultant, investor, and a dreamer. He has assisted many foreign companies to get into India and also assisted Government of India in policy around innovation. So Nagi sir, many things to discuss. To start with, we would love to know some more about you.
Thank you, Shaleen. Thank you, first of all, for inviting me. And I presume I passed engineering before most of you were born. So I don't know if people are going to reject this interview, absolutely saying that, yeah, so, but yeah, to introduce myself, I think the first thing is that I wear too many hats because I think I don't have hair. So, so I have the hat of an investor. I am an active angel investor in right now. My portfolio consists of around 21 companies, largely in the tech domain. Then I am an active mentor. I am a mentor to AICTE, Government of India. Then a mentor to BM Munjal University. Then a mentor to IIT Roorkee Tides. Then a mentor to many startups, and of course, I mentor my portfolio companies. Then I am a consultant. I run a consulting company, as you introduced. So my consulting company is called Market Insight Consultant. It's been around for 20 years. So we have been helping industry to understand future markets, how future markets will pan out, how you got to change initially. So I wear the hat of a consultant also in most times. Then I wear the hat of a trainer. I was fortunate to be selected by Government of India as one of the top 20 trainers in India. And then we were trained by Government of Netherlands. And then I, in turn, have trained more than 200 trainers in India. So so I was a champion master trainer in that sense. And it was good while it lasted. But later on, they declared India as a developed country, and then they stopped that development aid. And then I'm a bit of a coach also, because when I mentor companies, I largely work on the mind of the entrepreneur, which is the biggest bottleneck to sustainable growth in most cases. And I work on the strategy. So I have wear these 5-6 hats. It's very difficult to really slot which hat you want to use at what time. So you keep flipping between them. I graduated from Roorkee in '83, worked in marketing in Larsen & Toubro. And as a young 21-year-old, I was fortunate, Shaleen, to introduce a new technology into India. So L&T had a collaboration with a French company on vibratory compactors. So when you make a road, then you need those road rollers. So the static road roller was something like, in those days, 2.5 lakh rupees. Whereas a vibratory roller, which uses the resonance of the soil, that was 13 lakh rupees. So nobody would buy it. So there was no concept of a vibratory compactor in India. People didn't know. So I was given the responsibility as a young, because the rest of people had given sales targets. I was in marketing. So I got the target to introduce this technology. And today I'm very happy to share that if you need to even qualify for an NHAI tender, you need vibratory compactors on your roads.
That's wonderful.
So wonderful. Did this good work right then. After that, of course, I have introduced another 7 technologies into India. We can talk about that in some other time. So after that, I started a business firm into market research, went on to set up India's first edtech company. It was called Bharatiya Vidya. It was supposed to be funded by Reliance. Then Reliance backed out at the last minute. Then one of our other clients, they invested in that. And then I sold out my company. I thought I'll get full time into the tech company, but then there were some challenges with my partner. So I sold out my company, became CEO for 2 years because that was mandatory part of selling out the company. Built my house, and then I put a coin. I said, whatever, should I do a job or should I do business? Because whatever money I had earned from my company and all these years of working, I had put into my house. So then the coin came, do business. And I prayed to Baba. Then I asked my wife, I said, do we have something to sustain ourselves? He said, maybe 2 mahina chal jayega. So I said, wow, let's start. So 6th of June 2002, I started Market Insight Consultants with, as you said, a dream to make this into a very powerful ethical company, which is a differentiated company in consulting and research. And 20 years down the line, fairly doing well, and God's been kind. So we employ 40 people, and we are spread all across India. And we have changed the face of the aviation sector. So all the airports that you see after 2006, whether it was GMR, GVK, and now Adani. So we have managed the transition. We've done the world's largest survey of passengers. We created segments. Today, 55% of Delhi airport's revenue comes from retail. So it was designed by us, the strategies towards segmentation. Retail consultant was different, of course. Then we impacted on the innovation policy. We introduced a couple of 80 foreign companies into India. So my startup journey started around 2-3 years back when I decided to become an investor. Then when they came with their business plans, I didn't even know what is mentorship, though I've been doing consulting for so long. So I would tell them, this is wrong, this will lead you to this direction. Then they would themselves approach young 22-year-olds, and they would say, sir, can you mentor me? So then I started mentoring, and many companies we have ideated together, created frameworks for growth, and many of them have doubled, quadrupled their valuations in 1 year, etc. So it's sort of POC delivered, and then I became mentor to all these incubators also I told you about. So the only thing that is left for me in the startup industry, I have my own startups. I have invested in startups. I am a mentor to startups and incubators. The only thing left is to set up an incubator, but I guess I'm too old for that. So maybe tie up with young people and do an incubator also. But I could keep on talking about myself. I'm sure this is not about me, but this is about reaching out to those young people. So shoot, Shaleen.
Well, what an inspirational and interesting story you have been into, and you a complete book to us. And I'm sure many people will get benefited from the talks we are going to have right now. So India is a very young country in respect to its 50% population under the age of 25 and 65% under the age of 35. And the dependency ratio will drop to 0.4 by 2030. So what I'll start with a very generic question, that if an idea keeps me hitting all day and night, and I find it that going to make it, what first steps or analysis should I go in for first? Like many people think of a thought, like a business thought, a market thought. So what are the first steps or analysis?
Yeah, that's a good question, Shaleen, because there are two broad segments, I would say, in my experience. There are one segment is people who are pretty hardwired around their idea. They got that idea and they started living, breathing that idea, and
Yes.
they say that this is the only thing that I want to do. Whether it succeeds, not succeeds,
Right.
whatever, whether they study, not study, they just want to do that. So that's hardwired around a particular idea. I'm not addressing that segment. I'm addressing a segment which has a nebulous idea, which has a broad concept of what they want to do. And then they go about in a systematic manner to develop a proper focus. So most people would typically start with market research, and market research is the right thing to do. I have dealt with at least some 70 startups. Some of them have given fees, some of them have given mentorships, etc., in helping them to understand the markets. But in that also, I would say the first thing we should do is a competitor study. Because when you do a competitor study, the first idea that you get is a white space. That in this industry, for example, let's suppose somebody says, I want to do something in health tech.
Right.
Now, if you start doing a competitor study, you might find there's very little white space left in the health tech industry. Everybody is doing something or the other, which is in. But in many other sectors, or if you fine comb this a little bit, you will find that there is a white space available. And wherever there is a white space available in that particular sector, or you zoom down on that, that's a definite chance to create value.
Right.
And a startup will get a subset of the value it creates for its customers. So
Right.
if you create larger value, you will get a larger value for yourself. So that's the idea, is to first innovatively find some white spaces, if possible, by a competitor study. There are startups, I know, IIT Bombay startups who and a lot of multinationals, they do this. What they do is they do patent study. So you study all the patents in that particular industry, and then you find a white space. So all the electronic multinationals that we have, they have teams entirely doing this, and they then look at a white space, and then they immediately start a team, and then they put a patent around that. So I'm not saying we should go for patents, but I think understanding white space is an important thing.
Correct.
After that, you need to understand the value chain of the industry, because I have dealt with many startups. They have to deal in the context of a value chain. Suppose you're a platform, you want to e-commerce or something, you want to put some categories of whether it's social commerce or e-commerce or whatever. Now, are there enough providers? And not providers in a general sense, providers of the category that you want. So I think understanding their motivations and their motivations to get onto your platform. Today, social collaboration has become a very, very big thing. It started very small, and you didn't even know what is this, but that white space was exploited, and around this Coke Studio concept. So now there are startups which are using social collaborations to create IPs, etc. On the other hand, if you don't know this space, for example, you have not studied the social collaboration space, and you come out with a novel portal and you say, I'll give you an opportunity to do music. Why would a person come onto your platform when he can go onto a platform, create his own IP, and then have a shared marketing, etc. So I think understanding, for example, this space is in the industry that you want to work with in a very detailed manner is the sign of success. Then, of course, the natural succession after you do the value chain analysis is the product market fit. So I'm sure you will have some trainers who can train people on product market fit. So then you finally design your product market fit. And after you do that, you develop your strategy. Most people get up to here right. Even a strategy, they sometimes get right, but sometimes they miss because they've not understood the whole market context. So naturally, your strategy has to be a subset of the whole market context. Finally, what you need to do is a glide path. And most startups, and you have many startups who are going to watch this podcast, most startups fail on the glide path. You have very limited resources with you at this time, and you have a grandiose plan. But what do you do first? What do you do second? What do you do third? When do you go to market? When do you make the POC? When do you get your seed funding? When the glide path of a startup, I think, is more important than even the strategy of the startup, I would say.
Correct.
And
Correct.
many times the startup founders, they don't give importance to a sort of a intelligent glide path. So I would say glide path is an important part. After that, you typically have two choices: either remain bootstrapped for some more time, develop a POC, and then you become a little more valuable, then go to the market, get a deck. Or you say that I don't want to do a POC, let me make a deck first, go to the investors, get a couple of mentors, etc., and then start off in that way. So both options are there. But the first parts, the market research, the competitor research, the white space analysis, the business models, the strategies, the market understandings, the context, all that should be laid out first.
Correct, sir. Very wonderfully explained, sir. I'll move on to the next question. Like, sir, who are actually the angel investors and what values do they look into a company for investing?
See, the word angel investor sort of gives you an idea that he's actually somebody who's supposed to help you, but I think that concept is not there any longer. I think the angel investor is looking at, okay, can I multiply my money
Yes.
by getting into? So angel investor is, but yes, I have been especially out of my portfolio of 21 companies, I have been first investor in 12 of them. And many of them are leading companies today. So that is the role of a person who believes in you, first of all. So I think the angel investor is, first of all, needing to have trust and belief in the founder. Now, usually it happens in a known circle within your friends, family, your colleagues, network. So to that extent, the angel thing works around friends and family. But many of the companies which I invested were not, in fact, none of them were friends and family. They all just came, they heard about me, they came, they presented, I guided them, then I decided to invest in them, took mentorship, stakes, etc. So typically an angel is looking at first the team or the founder. That's, I think, the trust that you can have in the founder. Like I run a very ethical company and I have dedicated my life around Satya and Dharma, which are Sai values. So I'm looking for founders who are ethical. I'm not looking at people who are, and I can get to know this quickly. So that's one thing. So, you have a value match with the founders. You also sometimes I'm a lead investor on behalf of Digital Futures Angel Network, DFAN. So I'm a lead investor. I evaluate startups also on their behalf. And one of the things that we see, especially if there are co-founders, is what is the cohesion between the two people? I mean, are you just together out of convenience because you're a tech person and somebody's a marketing person? Is it just a convenience which is getting you two together, or are you people from the same college and you spent your hostel life together and you gone to bed together and that kind of a thing? So I personally see cohesion. I see the level of innovation and innovation, the differentiation. So within that industry, are you doing something different as compared to the others? Or is there some patent you have? Is there some innovation you have? Is there something new that is there a possibility of a patent in the future? That kind of thing. Then the angel looks at the market potential. A lot of people, but I am not too much into the market potential because I mean, yes, if you study the market potential on a global level, fine. But as a small startup, you can reach probably only your city. Suppose you set up a food tech company If you start catering to your city alone, it will be something. So why bother about the rest? So I think the focus market is what I would be concerned about. But yeah, generally an angel investor would be concerned about the customer base. Am I going too fast or?
No. You're going very good, sir. Very good. Please continue.
Then the angel investor would look at the ability to scale. So are you as a small startup or a bootstrap startup or a funded startup in this market, which is a complex market, which is growing market, whatever it is, are you having the ability to scale? The ability to scale depends on your strategy. So obviously the GTM would be an important part. So how do you go to market? For example, if somebody says, I'll try to go to market all over India in one go, I would typically reject that because he's not going to be able to succeed in that. So he has to go in a focused manner. So I think the GTM, then as I said earlier, the glide path, then the focus of the founder. Sometimes people want to do too many things. So, because they don't know what will really run. They probably lack that confidence in that one idea, or they haven't formed it so well. So they say, "Is sector mein ye bhi kar lenge, ye bhi kar lenge, ye bhi kar lenge." So I also see focus that are you clear on this? I see the flexibility of the because like there was one startup, I won't take the name. It was a very interesting startup around news. And then I told them that, are you willing to have a little bit of advocacy also around this? Because then if you are a news channel and you create an advocacy positioning around yourself, you can actually create a lot of value for your fellow citizens. And, but they were a little rigid about it. So they didn't want to do it. So I do evaluate flexibility also, aside of focus. And finally, of course, the exit potential. Are you going to be able to exit? Does the founder have the vision to get into a fund? And does he have a clear path for that? So typically, as a mature angel investor, these are all the things that I would typically look at.
Very nicely said. So very nicely said. So now, sir, as we are into AI and ML and data analytics, so in this domain, what different sectors do you see are keen to integrate these technologies into their operations? Like you named like healthcare or manufacturing. Like, can you name some of the companies which are actually going to integrate AI and ML into their softwares or into their operations in India?
Yeah, I think there is a lot of potential. Everyone is talking of AI and ML, but I think Chat GPT really brought that whole thing into. So now there's a Chat GPT around Bhagavad Gita, and it gives fantastic predictions. So it sits on top of the Bhagavad Gita, and it gives you, you ask, so using AI, what is the top 3 teachings? And it tells you the bang on, what you read so many times, Bhagavad Gita, they tell you bang on. So I think AI and ML, if somebody is not trying to use this, I would say, then it's going to be suboptimal in the future. I think there's application everywhere, but like in our own portfolio, we have used this for a health tech company. So what we're doing is we are in this particular startup, we are creating a digital clone. So using Meta. So in Meta, we are creating a digital clone of the person. So you'll have Shaleen Jain, the physical person, and then you'll have a Meta version of
Shaleen. Oh, right.
On that, we will try the drugs. And we will see tissue responses or whatever around that. So very far out idea.
Very wonderful.
You described me as a dreamer, so this is one of the dreams I have. So we're trying to get that together, and then if it works in the digital clone, then we probably introduce it as a systemic thing. So that's health tech, one particular application. One of my other company in biotech, they're also into health tech. They are using AI for early prediction of osteoporosis. Now, early prediction of cancer has been there quite a bit, whether using AI or not AI, but nobody's attempted osteoporosis. And osteoporosis affects 50% of the females who become post-menstrual.
Yes.
Then their bones become weaker and brittle, and then that bone density. And at that time, you can do nothing. So if you can know right when you're 5 years old that you are prone to osteoporosis, then you can have better supplements, etc. So he has collaborated with AIMS as the technical partner and University of Delhi as the analytics partner, and we are using AI to predict. So it's a predictive model around osteoporosis, so health tech. Then in one agri-tech company which I have curated, which has now become one of the top 10 startups, and it has even presented to Prime Minister Modi. They selected, the agriculture ministry selected 10 startups, and this curated startup was part of that. I'm not taking names because then it becomes here we do a satellite low orbit image of the crop. So suppose it's a mango tree, we can zoom down on that tree. We then estimate the yields of the crop, and then we see against known signatures that whether this is a grade of mango or this is a B grade of mango. Right up to that, we are able to give the analytics to the person. So you can know, as a government, you can know your crop is shifting. Like Punjab used to be wheat, now Punjab is a lot rice. So there's shifting patterns happening. Mustard and gram, these kind of things, they keep shifting. So those shifts can be analyzed through this AI by using these signatures, which is there. You can use AI for e-commerce in order to predict human behavior. In one of my startup, which is around gaming, so it's using a predictive mechanism. So when a live match is going on, so it's not a Dream 11. Dream 11 those teams. This is into actual predictions. So you make a prediction around who will do what and how many runs will. So there's key questions which come. You make those predictions, and it's a small incentive to even you can start gaming with 10 rupees kind of a thing. We've done using AI to profile the people who play, and we see their patterns of playing, and we use AI to develop better offerings and questions to those people along with their social profiles. So immense possibilities of using AI and ML in any business line.
Very wonderful. Rightly said.
I wanted to give examples where we have done it ourselves, and we have architected this, discussing with the founders, etc. So it's real, then it becomes real, tangible. But you tell me any sector, and I could give you an idea of where AI and ML can actually fit in. Sure.
Yeah. So, can you tell us what are different government of India schemes and programs to support the startup ecosystem in India?
Government, I think, number one, of course, the fact that they've created an organization called Startup India, which is promoting. So I myself am working with Startup India. We have rated states on their startup policy. So different states have their own startup side of the government of India policy. There are state policies and state issues also. So we have rated states on that. So first of all, I would say the government creates an overall macro environment in which startups can flourish. That's the first thing which the government does at a meta level. And creating the Startup India as part of Invest India was part of that. And they're doing absolutely good work. They then give awards to incubators, accelerators, etc. Then the incubation and acceleration scheme itself, under Niti Aayog, you have a lot of funding being given to universities. Now, I think that universities may not necessarily accept the fact that they have a pool of young people, but the business model of the universities are more very stable, and the professors are less market oriented than people in industry. So there are some tweaks which can happen in those schemes, but they are supporting incubators. Right at school, they are supporting adult tinkering labs. So they're bringing, they give a very small grant to the school to introduce a tinkering lab. So even at a school, some child thinks of some idea, then they have a tinkering lab to go and try that idea, and then they take it to market.
Great, sir.
Then the government is supporting startups from rural areas with frugal innovations. So they created a whole National Innovation Foundation, which is also my client. And we have helped National Innovation Foundation. So they get these innovations from rural areas, and they then help to take them to market. So I help in the commercialization of those technologies. That's there. Then they have acceleration schemes where, especially under MIGHTY, they are supporting accelerators. So it's an indirect benefit to the startups. The accelerators in turn will then support the startups, etc. Then, of course, you have the income tax benefits of no income tax for a couple of years, things like that. But this year's reintroduction of angel tax was a little bit of a dampener. So I think that's put the whole startup world into a little bit of a tizzy. Those who are not DPIIT approved, they will really stare at very, very tough balance sheets. Yeah, but otherwise, overall, government is created a very good macro environment for entrepreneurship, and they are now even giving direct awards to startups to that extent.
All right. Okay, sir. So one of my last question to you, sir, is like how to handle these setbacks in a startup. Like, are there any exit plans from the government given to these startups? For example, Dazo, Doodhwala, and local Bania, they went into hot waters. But at the same time, we have Cred, we have Nykaa, Razorpay, Grow, Meesho that have shown extraordinary results.
Right.
So how a young person should enter into this startup when he does not have any exit plan?
Actually,
or should he has any exit plan or not?
This is a very, 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 very good question, Shaleen. And my mind goes back to, in our times, you talk of Razorpays. Harshil is a close friend of mine. He's from IIT Roorkee. So, we know each other. Similarly, Cred, I don't know. But these are the new successes in the unicorns.
Yes.
The Olas and the whatever, Ritesh Agarwal's. But in our times, Dhirubhai Ambani was the benchmark. So
Yes.
Everybody who would start entrepreneurship would, "Arey, hum bhi Dhirubhai ban jayenge." Everybody starts business with those dreams of only the successful people. But for every one person who becomes a unicorn, there are 100 people who would remain
correct,
static, stable,
correct,
just about meeting their homes, and there would be 200 which would be closing down also. I think that would be the ratio which I would see. I often speak on these IIT and IIM forums when they call us for a panel or whatever. So there we talk about first of all, when you come as a founder, don't come with the expectation that, if I was in a job circuit, I would get at least a 60 lakh package. So don't start expecting your business to give you a 60 lakh profit at the end of year one. That defeats entrepreneurship, I think. So that should, the criterias of setback itself should be very clear, that you should not benchmark with a corporate job or something like that. Number one. Number two, despite all that, and in spite of the right bearing, maybe due to lack of capital, maybe due to your competitors, maybe unethics, or maybe due to market circumstances, maybe due to some personal issues that you had, your business can fail many times. I can give you my personal example that despite being a consultant. My own business, I set up a business in Muscat, and I set it up around my son. So I said, you can do. And then after 1 year of working, by the time he grooved into that, he got bored and he said, Baba, I want to go abroad. I want to study. And I said, you're already abroad. You're not in India. You already, no, I want to upskill. I want to do data analytics and I want to see the world. I want to be in a MNC. So now that whole business plan. And then if I send somebody as a small company, if I send somebody else, he will use me as a stepping stone and then join a bigger company tomorrow. So that was a failure, you can say. So that was a setback in that sense.
Right.
When you don't get your target, I would say in a small sense, that itself is a setback. But when your whole business fails, that is a bigger setback. And I have seen people from a range falling into depression, and on the other hand, coming out with more determination to succeed. So now I think where does a founder choose to calibrate himself? So I think the first thing is to isolate that emotion. First of all, when you accept that you have failed, you are actually not able to see yourself in the mirror. You are able to say that I have failed, like, whereas the self-image of a person is always that I am succeeding, I'm going to become another unicorn. So that emotion is the one that kills everything. So I think the first thing to do, which I was able to do, I had to rebuild my business all over again, because I had put in a lot of money over there.
Right.
And I had to rebuild, but so I isolated those emotions. I said no self-remorse, no thinking of yourself as a failure. Okay, some business failed, then you take stock all over again, all afresh. Where are you? What are you? Re-strategize, refocus. Now, if that business itself, like in my case, if I decide that, okay, I am not going to re-strategize, I'm going to close this thing down. Many people find it difficult to say no or to close down a venture, because it was part of their dream. It was part of their, it's the baggage. So I say, I think that takes guts also, but I think you should also know when to say, okay, this is a closed picture and let's start doing something else and create success somewhere else. Let's change the playing field. So that, and then you get back to doing what you're best at doing, at winning. So I think the crux is to isolate that and remove the negative emotion. That's the crux, which is my own personal example, I can say. And I think that's one of the big roles which a mentor, especially when mentors come from as professors or as MNC jobs, they can give tech mentorship very well, probably better than many people. But the business mentorship, that how to handle partnerships, how to handle failures, how to really, that actually comes from mentor who has been there, done that.
Right.
That's also the value that the mentor gives to people, so that the mistakes which, for example, I have made we learned from those mistakes. At least you could ensure that the people whom you are coaching and mentoring don't make the same mistakes. At least that much, even that is good value to them. So, so love to remain connected with you. Yeah, but if there's any other.
Yes, in short, any 2 lines for the young generation of India. Just short 2 lines.
Yeah,
I think. Who are the dreamers?
I was exactly going to say that. I was also young. You are having the disadvantage of not being old, but I was also young at one time. In my mind, I'm still very young. So I was always a dreamer. I created India's first edtech company when probably the Byju's guys were not even born. It was a dial-up connections used to be there in VSNL. I think the first thing that I would like to say is first dream. I mean, business to chal jayegi koi bhi, but first dream, and just see what can you create. What different can you create. I think that is the first thing that I would tell any startup to do. But people they start a business only around money. That we are going to. Unfortunately, that is our life today. It's a little more focused on money, but I think the power of dream gives you different energy. So I think that's the first thing to do, is to dream. The second thing that I would say is to innovate. You have to be innovative in your product, innovative in your process, innovative in your business model, innovative in your raw material usage or whatever. So dream, innovate, and once you have done that, then you must what you can say, implement like military.
Right.
That's
Right.
where also we go wrong. We develop a plan and then we don't stick to that plan. So
Right.
we must implement like military, I would say. So
Right,
it's
sir.
it's partly a Chinese philosophy of opposites. So at one time you're dreaming and ideating, etc. But when you're implementing real hard. So
Right.
it's
Right.
both
Right.
those opposites. The most of the people think that both these are not possible, but they're actually possible. If you read the
Right.
Chinese philosophy of yin and yang, you will realize that it's possible. And I think this is the message which I want to leave to the watchers of this podcast through your startup is that dream, innovate, and then implement like military. So this is 100% going to be successful. Any startup which can do this.
Wonderful, doctor. Wonderful. Wonderful. So, to my lovely India, keep dreaming, keep inventing new thoughts, and keep pouring in the comments down below in the comment box. And it was really wonderful talking to you, sir, Sanjay
Thank you,
Nagi, sir.
Shaleen. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank
Pleasure
you for giving
interacting.
us the valuable time of yours, and we'll
Pleasure.
keep in touch.
Pleasure.
Sure,
Pleasure.
sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Goodbye. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.